Greetings, this is Chaz Wyman and I'm speaking on the channel Eat Fat, Grow Slim. Blood pressure. 4 years ago, when everything changed for me, I had very high blood pressure. My medication had just been increased again and I was put on ramipril, a common ACE inhibitor. I've always had a bit of a problem with the idea of pills. Well, not because doctors are wrong, but because tablets rarely address the underlying cause. If you're told you have high blood pressure, very often the first thing that happens is a prescription, and I think this can be a mistake. To be most critical, it's a bit like symptom whack-a-mole, where you go in with a problem, doctor identifies the problem, doctor says, I've only got 10 minutes, but I do have a pill for that. Prescription is written, you start taking the drug and the symptom goes away. But nothing has happened to alleviate the problem. Before we go any further, let's remind ourselves what blood pressure actually is. There are two numbers. The big number is the systolic pressure, the pressure in your arteries when the heart contracts, and this pushes blood out of the heart and through into the body. The smaller number is the diastolic pressure, when the pressure in the heart relaxes between beats. So your heart is doing this between 60, 70, 80 times a minute. And if you're running about, you can get it up to 120 and more. This all keeps the blood flow to your brain, your lungs, your muscles and every other organ. Those numbers naturally change then. If you run upstairs or feel stressed, both numbers go up, and that's normal. So, this has been going for a long time, but the first recorded measurement was in 1733. For a long time, it was more curiosity than a clinical tool. In the 1800s, the cuff sphygmomanometer, you like that word, was developed, giving doctors a simple, non-invasive way to measure circulation. But it's not really until the 20th century that links between high blood pressure, heart disease and stroke became clearer. But at that time, the numbers 160 over 95 was considered normal. So remember that number. Over the decades, the threshold fell, 160 over 90 to 140 over 90, 130 over 85. But now it's down to a nice clear 120 over 80. So with all this gradual changing of the target, and the universality of this norm raises a serious question. Did humans suddenly deteriorate over a few decades, or have definitions tightened as research has evolved, or is something else going on? So I have to say this plainly, modern medicine does not exist in isolation from the pharmaceutical industry, and targets and treatment thresholds are set internationally by Big Pharma. Drug companies operate internationally, and when you lower a diagnostic threshold, you instantly create millions of new patients. Even in a system like the NHS, which is free at the point of need, those international targets still apply. So the NHS may not charge you at the door, but the medications are still purchased and guidelines are influenced by global committees that are not entirely free from pharmaceutical influence. So there is a profit motive embedded in how aggressively we pursue certain numbers. That doesn't mean doctors are corrupt. It doesn't mean medications never save lives, but it does mean we should think more carefully about accepting the one universal target that suits everyone. So I don't believe that 120 over 80 suits everyone. If you're a 6-foot man and weigh 400 pounds, you may feel faint at 120 over 80. Your circulation may require more pressure to simply move blood around a larger frame and up to your head. If you are a petite woman in her 20s, 120 over 80 might even be too high. Now, as we age, arteries stiffen and the heart has to work harder to do the same job. A slightly higher pressure may not be ideal, but it may sometimes be necessary. So you need to find a sort of sweet spot Obviously you don't want it to be too low, and you don't want to overload yourself with drugs either. If your blood pressure is genuinely high, I would not hesitate to take the medication in the short term. Common drugs include ACE inhibitors like enalapril, lisinopril and ramipril. I found ramipril personally unpleasant because it gave me a persistent tickle in my throat. This is one of the accepted side effects. So because I had tonsil cancer in 2008, I ended up switching to candesartan, which suited me better because I wasn't constantly reminded that there was something else going on in the back of my throat. Diuretics can increase urination and lower potassium. Beta blockers like atenolol and propranolol can slow the heart and cause fatigue or cold hands. These are called side effects, but really they are the effects, part of how the drugs work. These drugs actually address why blood pressure is high. They reduce the number, they do not correct the driver. And these effects, even though you may not be feeling them, are actually still acting in your body. Some of those effects are exactly what you want. They lower the blood pressure, but there are costs to taking any drug. Okay, so what drives it? Stress absolutely raises blood pressure. Sit quietly and breathe slowly and you'll see your numbers drop within minutes. Sleep is critical. Poor sleep disturbs blood pressure regulation. Improving sleep can have a profound effect. Then we come to metabolism. If you are overweight, your heart must generate more pressure to circulate blood. Beyond the mechanics lies the insulin resistance. I'm going to be talking a hell of a lot about insulin resistance. If you haven't heard about this, you should do, because it affects everyone, even children now. So this is a thing we're now calling metabolic syndrome, which covers obesity, fatty liver, type 2 diabetes, abnormal lipids, and it's strongly linked to high blood pressure. High blood sugar raises blood pressure. In response, insulin rises. Insulin tells the kidneys to retain sodium, stimulates the nervous system, and affects vessel tone. Higher blood sugar leads to higher insulin. Higher insulin promotes vascular tension. Over time, chronically elevated insulin worsens resistance, creating a vicious cycle. And one more thing, constant snacking keeps insulin elevated. All the time we are eating, blood pressure is higher. So one of the hideous myths of healthy eating is eat little and often. Give your body a chance. We live in a world with 3 square meals plus snacks between to keep us going. This is why fasting is so powerful. When you fast, you reduce ultra-processed foods, lower excess carbs, and improve your insulin sensitivity. You are not just losing weight, you're interrupting the cycle, reducing insulin, and smoothing out blood pressure. Right, now some practical advice. High blood pressure is a problem. If diagnosed, start the medication if necessary and get a blood pressure monitor. One of these little things here. They're dead cheap. Start using it straight away. Sit down, be calm, breathe steadily, put the cuff on your upper arm with the tube right here on the nape of the arm. So this helps the cuff read your pulse properly. Get your legs to each side. You're sitting in a chair. Relax, no tight clothing. Take a few breaths. Think of something pleasant. Stroke the dog if you've got one. I find after pressing the button, the first measurement can be a bit high. So take 2 further readings while leaving the cuff in place. The second and third readings seem to be more accurate. Do this once or twice a day for 4 or 5 days and observe the pattern. If you're only 10 points above target, don't panic. You have time to address the basics before increasing any medication. So, and this is reduce stress, improve sleep, exercise, really important. Don't avoid processed foods, just stop eating them. They're absolutely ghastly. Consider a bit of fasting. Skip a meal, lower your or reduce your eating window. So stop eating earlier in the evening. Don't start eating first thing in the morning. If you do that, your blood pressure will start to go down. Stay out of stress as much as possible, and if you can afford it and have the time, get a dog. They'll keep you happy, calm and active, which helps blood pressure. And actually, you have to go and take it for a walk, which gives you your exercise. Blood pressure matters, but the goal isn't just chasing a number. It's building a healthier metabolism, a calmer nervous system, and a lifestyle that supports your health for the long term. Okay, if you like this, like and subscribe, and look out for my forthcoming videos on salt, which connects closely to everything we discussed today. Just to be sure, I'm not recommending low salt diets, and if you follow that, you'll see why. Thanks for watching.